The guests are taking their seats. It's a delight to have them here. It's the first film in the competition. We have Lynn Ramsey here. Good day to you. Thank you very much for coming in to speak to us with Tilda Swinton. Thank you very much for being with us, Tilda Swinton. A young actor, Ezra Miller, who we've been discovering here in Cannes today. A rising star, John C. Reilly, also a star who has already risen. Thank you all four of you very much for coming in. Lynn, 9 years since your second and third films. It's a long time. It was a tight schedule for making this film. How did you get the strength for this subject to take on this project? What carried you forward?
Just, it's just me, I just was determined, It's been 9 years since the film, but I've made 3 films in my head. So this is my 7th film for me. Yeah.
C'était le film pour le 7e art et vous êtes à Cannes avec ce film.
And you've come to Cannes here with your film. In this particular topic, what is most important to you?
It's the most important thing in the world: family, relationships, mother and son. I think that's it. Yeah.
Et Tilda Swinton vous a épaulé depuis longtemps pour
Tilda Swinton has been backing you up to prepare the film.
Tilda Swinton is very beautiful, and she's also been attached to the film for a few years. So yeah, it was tough to get made, tough subject matter, but very worth it. Yeah.
Ah oui, c'est vrai que c'est un sujet tough.
Yes, it's a very tough subject. Tilda, why did you support Lynn so strongly from the beginning? What was your motivation in the role and on the subject?
I think I would make any film that Lynn proposed that we would make together. I would happily make a film about this cup. If, in fact, it's an idea for the next one.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do it. Okay.
Same back for that.
I love her. I think she's a great filmmaker. And like most people who know her work, I was longing to see her next film, and to be a part of it was grace.
Et ce rôle de cette
and the role of a mother who has difficulty communicating with her child. How did you take that on board?
I think it's a taboo, really, that not many people talk about, the possibility of a woman having a child and not having an established bond with them. I think there are millions of women who suffer from a kind of fiction that some kind of attachment immediately kicks in, and they have to live with a sense of shame. And I think the film looks at that.
Luc regarde cela avec une sincérité.
Yes, the film analyzes it really sincerely.
On est à l'intérieur, j'ai
But
l'impression.
by the same token, we're inside the head inside the heart, inside the very gut of the woman.
Oui.
Yes, that's what I intended anyway. Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way.
Alors, quel est le rôle du père, John C. Reilly?
And what is the role of the father, John C. Reilly? How did you experience the role? Does he feel guilty?
Well, I think all parents feel guilty. Yeah, you do your best, and then children are actually not just a product of your upbringing, but they are beings unto themselves from the time they're born. So there's a certain amount you can control. But the film's interesting because it's really told through the lens of Tilda's character. So even more, the events in the story seem to be taking place as they are remembered, not as they actually occurred. So as they're remembered by Tilda's character. So it was an interesting part to play for that reason, because it was somewhat of a slightly heightened reality.
Yeah, it's very ambiguous. She's kind of the unreliable narrator. Like, you can't rely on her memory to be truthful, So it's always ambiguous, and I like this because it's hard to say in a family who is the character, bad, good, whatever. The relationships are much more complex, So I thought that was an interesting way to tell the story. John's very right.
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller, how did you manage to take on board this very complicated role of a teenager who is quite terrifying, and his relationship with his mother? How did you manage to work together in such a short space of time?
Well, for me, most of all, it was not about being terrifying and not about being a sociopath or a psychopath or someone crazy, but actually just being a kid whose mother was ambivalent towards him. Just someone neglected. I think the rational rage, hatred, just the anger that causes is incredibly justifiable. And what I thought when I initially read the script was just that I could understand Kevin's perspective, not from some crazed emotional perspective, but from a very rational viewpoint. And so kind of approaching the role as Kevin approaches his whole battle as a performance, as a specific war.
Ah oui, c'est vrai que
Yeah, it's true. It's a war film.
Ah, tout à fait. Oui, je suis d'accord avec vous. Ah oui, c'est une scène de guerre. Il y a d'ailleurs cette scène très forte dès le départ.
There's a very strong scene when you're pushing the pushchair to the pneumatic drill. You hear the noise. There's a war of noises there with your baby who's crying. But there are a lot of tenderness between you and Lynn and Tilda. I can see you patting each other on the shoulder, etc. How did you get on with? How did you prepare the film together?
It was an absolute delight from start to finish.
Just because we love making films, and it's been a long time for me, and I love working with fantastic. I wouldn't even say actors, because these guys are like, they're being when they're on screen. They're fantastic. And what a delight for me. What fun. It's been a long time, but I had a lot of fun. I mean, it's been great,
I also think that in order to approach material like this, which is bloody material, but then family is a bloody subject, let's face it, for all of us. It's not all about, Hallmark greeting cards. It's a bloody business. I think in order to approach this kind of material, you really are best to go there with your friends.
Oh, yeah. Actually, to honour Derek Jarman, who Tilda worked with before, he was one of the most inspiring filmmakers I ever met, because he said he came to my film school, and I thought he was, what he said was so honourable, so true, and he was working with people he loved and admired, and it's a hard industry, so you have to do it in a good way, and we had a blast, and that's why I think that's on screen too. I think that's in there, yeah, because we believed in it. Yeah. It doesn't need to be horrible.
Bien sûr, mais bien sûr, j'imagine tout à fait. Est-ce que une question un peu comme ça,
basic question.
Est-ce que ce fameux instinct maternel
Does this maternal instinct really exist? What do you think, Tilda Swinton? People always talk about maternal instinct. The film throws this into question.
I'm not a scientist. I am a human, and I also have the privilege to be a mother. I would suggest that it does exist, but I think the suggestion of the film is that it's not inevitable. In this film, the interesting subversion is that it's the father, in fact, who has who occupies much more the kind of tender, protective, soft role for the child than the mother. And the mother is more distant, more controlling in many ways, and much more connected to the outside world. And that's traditionally a role that the man is normally cast in. But absolutely.